Now that one is, why is my lapel mic not working? Maybe I did turn it off that time. I think that one needs to be, it's gone to a different one now. So now you can hear me. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is it terrible sound? I'm not sure where the sound's coming from. It might be from my camera. Are we still wanting to craft? I'm so sorry. My computer has reset itself. Oh, so glad you're all here. You found me. I'm not going to touch a thing. For some reason, all my settings had gone for my sound, for my system. I don't know whether it had done an update or what, but anyway, if you can hear me, I'm not touching anything. And I just have to work out which mic we're listening through so I can, when I go down to the desktop, you can still hear me. Because I'm going to have to probably reset it on each version now. Right, so we're going to go to the desktop. You might lose me for a minute, but we'll see. Can you hear me here? Because I'm not going to play with anything much today. Thank you, Roberta. All right, so that was fun. That was a fun first 15 minutes. I'm so glad you're all here. You're my biggest friends. I just love you guys. You're the best. Okay, so I'm just going to get straight into it because I've already wasted enough time. But did you see the recent hop we did at Ellen Hutson for the Ukraine? And I made a card here. So it's a window card. I was testing you. Thanks, Michelle. That's why I don't touch anything in my system. Not my system, like my computer system, because I'm not very good technically. So once it's set up, it has to stay. Okay, so this is a recent fundraiser that Ellen Hutson did. They had a 3-day hop at their Instagram account, and this is the card that I made, and they're supporting a company called Sketchmarker. Now this is these, I don't know if you've seen them yet, but they're very similar to Copics, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and do a bit of colouring and talk about colouring as well. So this is pretty much coloured. I've only got this many. I've got more on the way because, you know, they've got a sale on at the moment. So I had to buy some more. But yeah, so all the colours in the flowers here were used with these, but I did use a Copic in the background, and they do blend really nicely. The only other time that you might have seen me use these on my blog, because I have been playing with them in the background a little bit, just to practice and see whether I actually do like them before I recommend them. But did you see these cards that I made? I did them a little, probably about a month or so ago for Ellen Hutson as well, and they are in her. These are done with the refills of these. So I just did some Northern Light. I was trying to create like a Northern Lights background here, so that's my version of the Northern Lights, and they are on my bucket list. One day I'm going to see the Northern Lights. Crossed fingers, because I know that it's one of those things that you go travelling to and then sometimes you don't see them. But yeah, I had a lot of fun making these, and there is a blog post on how I made them. I think it's just a picture one, like I took pictures as I made it, but that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. So I have, like I said, been playing with both of these markers, and I did email you guys, and I got some amazing responses actually about colouring, because I'm trying to go a bit more back to basics at the moment. So I've wanted to know what people are colouring with at the moment, what your favourite colouring medium is, and a lot of people, I was really surprised, a lot of people said Copics or alcohol markers. I kind of, because I went on a watercolour kick a little while ago, but there was a big group of people that are still using alcohol markers. How pretty is that colour? So that made me happy, because they're one of my favourite mediums to colour with, and I thought I'd focus on alcohol markers today. So in particular, the Sketchmarkers, basically they are one of the most similar marker to the Copics that you're going to get. It's let me go through them, I suppose. They're actually, have you seen them up side by side? Because I know a lot of you guys have already got Copics, and people are wondering like how similar they actually are. So in size, we'll start with that. They're actually very, very similar. Probably the main difference when you look at them is the shape, like this, because I've only got Sketchmarkers. I never went down the Chow track because it was refillable. I thought I might as well get the bigger barrel and I have to fill them less. Other than my blender pen, which is the regular square shape, and that just holds more ink, and that's because that was the only thing I could get at the time for the blender pen. So these are round, but they have like on the cap, because basically these don't roll, which is one of the things I love about them. On the cap, I don't know if you can see, but there is a little notch on the cap, which does stop it from rolling too far, but it's definitely not as good as the Copic in the fact that that's got the oval shape, and when you put that down it doesn't go anywhere. So I do find these do roll a little bit, but they don't roll off your desk. So as for these are the Sketchmarker Brush Pro. So these Sketchmarkers have been around for many years, and I've not really, because I just had the Copics really, and that's what I would focus on. And of course I had the Ultra New ones as well. But these have been around for years, but they were more for the anime kind of market, and they had a bullet tip and a chisel. But these ones have gone to the brush, and I think that's where they're really coming into their own with the Copics, because we're used to, a lot of us like to colour with the brush tip. So that's got like a chisel tip, and that's the chisel tip. So it's quite, I might zoom in a little bit, guys. Yeah, it was really interesting to see what people are actually colouring with nowadays. A lot of people are doing the ink blending colouring, like through stencils, which I think I'm really loving that myself too. It's so easy. This one is definitely larger. Let me, oh, I didn't even get the whole thing. That's flat, and that's the whole chisel on this one. So there's quite a bit of a difference, and I think if you're someone who likes to, if you're a colorist that likes to do large backgrounds, that would be perfect for you. I don't tend to use the chisel tip at all, but the brush tip is what we're really interested in. Oh, one thing of note is, did you see, they do have like the grey line like the Copics do, but it's the opposite. So every time I would go for, this is the brush tip on the Copic, it's on the grey marker end, the grey lined end, whereas on the Sketchmarker Brush Pros it's on the opposite end. But they're actually very similar. And that's the money tip, the brush. I agree, they are very similar, and to be honest, when I'm colouring with the brush tip here, it's very similar to colouring with the Copic. It actually even sounds the same on the cardstock. These are the ink and the nibs are actually from Japan, which is where the Copics come from. So I'm not sure if it's how similar they are, but they feel very similar, and they don't fray like some of the cheaper alcohol markers. They work really well too, like, don't get me wrong, but you're right, Michelle, the money's in the brush tip, because that's the bit that's going to affect how you colour, and if it's fraying, then you're not going to get those nice sharp edges either. So Roberta, the caps go on really nicely at same as, they're very similar, they have that kind of click that you get with the Copics. But what I was saying about these caps, I don't know if I can show you up close. It has like a little notch on it so it doesn't roll off the desk. But the other thing I was saying, Roberta, is the line at this side here. So on a Copic, that line means you're pulling open the brush end, whereas that line means the chisel tip on these particular markers. They do sound like them. They really do. They're good. I'm really liking them. So at the moment they're on special. That's why I had to buy just a few more, because I've never really, with the Copics, I'm not a full set syndrome. What is it? I don't have to have the full set of everything. I don't have full set syndrome. I would love full set syndrome, but I can't possibly justify buying every colour under the sun. Look, these guys have 400 plus colours of these particular Brush Pro markers. Like, I don't need 400 colours. I'd like 400 colours. But the Copics have 358 colours, I think it is. So basically you're going to find the colours that you love, yeah, in amongst all of that, for sure. Okay, so what I was going to say next, I might just start with a little bit of colouring while I'm talking. What about that? Oh yeah, but before I do that, they're on special at the moment, so these regularly are $5.39 each, whereas these are $8 each. This is at Ellen's shop, so this is US dollars too, FYI. But at the moment you can get these for $4.49 each. So they're sold individually like Copics are. A lot of the cheaper alcohol markers you have to buy the big sets. So once you use your favourite colours, they're gone. You have to kind of buy the full set again, which is a bit annoying. And they're similar. You can buy refills and also nibs. And speaking of refills, this is, I think, the most disappointing thing about Copic. People have said recently, the various ink, this is the old style of refill here from Copic. So they were 25 mils. Last year or the year before, I can't remember now, they changed the packaging for their refills, and now they are 12 mils for the same price. So they're $5, I did look it up, $5.99 for 12 mils. That's not much. I mean, it's going to get you by refilling a pen quite a few times, but you can get the, these are the refills for the sketch markers. This is what I'd used to do the Northern Lights backgrounds that I showed you before. Yes, I've had that happen, Roberta, but only with one of my Copic pens, that the cap cracked and then it all dried out. So I haven't had a lot of problems with that. But then the pen's gone. You have to, unless you've got a spare cap, I suppose, somewhere, but who has that? The sketch marker has a 20 mil refill, So that's going to refill your marker 10 or 12 times, and that's on special at the moment for $6.29. So, you know, like normally $6.99, so it's much cheaper. It's pretty good value. But they are still an investment, but they're much more affordable, and when they're so similar and they have a lot of colours as well, like a lot of like different colours to the actual, I had a piece of paper, Copics as well. And Ellen has, and I think I put this link, hopefully the links stayed in the description below from my little debacle before, but hopefully the link is still there. Otherwise I will add it later. But it is, Ellen Hutson did a blog, with the actual fundraiser they did recently. So she did a blog post, and in that is a link for the Sketchmarker Brush Pros, and at the very bottom of that is it's like sheets of cardstock. Now let me get my words together. So she went through every single Copic marker, every single sketch marker, and wrote them down whether they looked very similar in colour. So if you have Copics and you did want to increase them, you could go to that list that she created and just make sure you're not going to double up on your colours, because that would nothing more frustrating than doing something like that. Because if you're going to buy colours, you're better off to buy colours that you don't have. So I like to work. Did that make sense? Oh, thanks, Michelle. Go to the link, it'll explain it much better than me. I'm a bit shook up. So the colours actually have names and numbers. The numbering system is a little bit different to, when I say a little bit, it's a lot different to the Copics. It's actually opposite, because you know with the Copics you go, the darkest colour has the highest number, so a 9 on the end would be your darkest colour. So it's the opposite here. So 0 is your darkest, 1 is lighter, right up to, I don't have any of the next colour, but it goes the opposite way. So the higher the number, the lighter the colour. Did I just say that right? She has a whole thing about that as well. And it can get really confusing, because even colouring on different cardstock can make the colours look different. So that's also your eyesight. Oh yes, my eyesight definitely is not what it should be. So when I'm colouring with the alcohol markers, the paper I'm working on here is the Nina 80 pound, and it's the Solar White. So it's it actually works really well for alcohol marker colouring, as well as pencils, as well as blending. It's one of those good all-round cardstocks. There are cardstocks that you can get that are made, and papers that are made specifically for alcohol markers, and they do work better. I have used a few of those. There's a Copic brand one, but I don't like to make cards with that cardstock, so that's why I use the Nina, and this does work really well with the alcohol markers. But basically any cardstock that you have is going to come down to practice. So if you really are struggling with alcohol marker colouring, it might be worth trying a different cardstock, because some, like especially like I found the cheaper cardstocks are not very, they don't make it easy. Alcohol, there is a learning curve to alcohol marker colouring, and by you don't want to make it any harder on yourself than you'll have to. So if you really are struggling, try a different cardstock. I agree, Deborah. It is, there you go, I looked at the line. It is really frustrating. Some people actually learn their colours by the name, so that's one good thing. These actually have a name as well as a number, like this one's called Thistle. And then it has the V for violet. But you don't really have to worry too much about that. There is a wheel that you can look at, and Ellen also did a list of, you know, like if you haven't got any colours and you're not sure which ones to get, she actually did like a little list of good starter basic colours, like with, you know, pinks or browns, greens. And it is all going to come down to what you're actually colouring as well, because there's no point getting, you know, lots of different browns and that unless you are going to do portrait or, you know, for hair, or if you're a critter colorist, so you like to colour fur and things like that. So you're not going to need a lot of browns if you just want to colour flowers. How'd we go with that one? How pretty are those two colours? And these colours are not in the Copic range at all, these purples. So I want to show you, did you see how easy that, hi Tracy, don't worry, you're not really late, and we're not talking about the reason why. We started late. So I want to add a little bit of shadow in. This image that I've stamped here is called Mondo Tulip, and it is stamped in some Memento Tuxedo Black. So that's the other thing to be aware of if you're new to colouring with alcohol markers, is you need to use a stamp. If you're going to stamp an image out, you need to use an ink that is going to be compatible with alcohol markers and not bleed. And this is a warm grey, because I don't have a Copic that would work as a shadow colour here, so I thought I'd just come in with a warm grey. I like to try and leave a little bit of a white highlight if I can. Sometimes I get a bit carried away. If I'm colouring from light to dark, I find it harder to actually leave that highlight. So that's where it comes into its own. Oh, I should probably have to put the caps off to the side here. If I actually colour my darks first, I'm more likely to leave that gap that I can for the highlight on my image. Not that it really matters, you can always come in, depending on what you're colouring, you could always come back in and colour it with a, you know, just put like a highlight by using the colourless blender, which is almost like an eraser for alcohol ink. Or the other thing you could do is come in with a white gel pen and add a highlight after. What about this? Is BG11. How, that's so different to my other BG, which is my probably my all-time favourite Copic colour. This is blue green in Copic. I think this is blue grey in the sketch marker. Not to confuse, like you say, Deborah, they're not trying to confuse us at all. So I just try not to get too caught up in that. I just like to buy the colours that I like and I'm going to use, because no point getting them if you don't use them, they'll dry out. I do like to have the ink refills though, I find it makes more sense. So I did try and buy a lot of the Copic refills before they went out of stock of the big barrel, you know, like the 25 ml barrel. Yeah, Tracy, so we are just playing with blending with them both. They actually work very similarly. So this is quite a different colour green I've got going on here to the BG, the blue-grey colour. And then this one's just more of a green. I like mixing colours. I don't always stick to the families. If you are new to colouring with Copics, I would actually recommend finding a family of colours. So if you are going to, you know, like, you don't have to buy them all. Just, especially if you haven't committed, like, you don't have to buy like a big set or anything like that. At the moment, because they're on special, it's not much different to buying them singularly. That didn't come out right. Singularly. So you could just buy a few and try them and see if you like them. But I would definitely buy a few that would blend well together. There's no point buying two random different colours and then you're not going to be able to get a good blend and you won't enjoy them at all then. Okay, now I did get totally off track by my... So that's why I thought I'll just start colouring. Colouring makes me happy. Yeah, I haven't ever tried the Spectrum Noirs, so I know a lot of people really like to colour with them. Okay, so the other way that I was going to... What time is it? Cool. The other thing I was going to show you was just a quick blend too. If you've not really coloured with Copics before, you can practice your blending. So I'm actually working on a piece of white, just copy paper under here. A lot of people like to actually colour on glass because they find that they get better blending. The thicker the cardstock, the worse it is because it's going to suck up more of your ink. So that's just something to be aware of. So I've put down my darker colour first, but then I'm blending out. I don't go all the way back because basically by going all the way back, I'm going to lift all that dark colour that I'd put down. So I'm basically wasting my ink. So when I'm blending out, I'll actually just come sort of to the midsection of what I'm colouring. I'll hold my marker on an angle, not too high, not too low, just whatever's comfortable, and then just come back in and blend them there. Don't keep working it though. It's going to keep working itself in the paper as it dries, and you'll find that that blend will improve as it dries. And the good thing about alcohol markers is you can actually come back in and add more after. I've even done it the day after. So, and then I'll just come back in if I want to. And that's another good thing if you're new and you don't have a lot of markers. You can actually make the colour darker by going over top again. So it gives you more options. I hope that makes sense. But I do, if you've been here before, you already know that I do like mixing colours that are not meant to be mixed. But yeah, so that's what I was doing here. I was going to do a little bit of no line colouring. We've got time for that. That's what I was thinking. And this one I was pretty much focusing just on the using the sketch markers for this. Another thing that you should be aware of, if you like colouring on coloured cardstock, pencils are usually your friend for that. Alcohol markers typically don't colour too well on coloured cardstock. I just thought I'd see how these guys go. Hi Helen. We're not talking about, we're late. I was late as well. But that's okay. We got there in the end. Another colour to be wary of, so I've just got a few tips here that I'm kind of sprouting out, is reds. I don't know, do you guys struggle with reds? They bleed and then they're not forgiving when they do. Meaning once they go outside the line, they're really hard to push back in where they're meant to be. I can't remember what colour I did here now. I was playing with this one yesterday. So this is no line colouring. I've actually stamped out the image. I don't know, it's easy enough to see, but I used the contour ink, which is from Hero Arts. So you can do no line colouring here, and does watercolours, markers and pencils. It doesn't say pencils, but everything does pencils. Yeah, the trick with red is to be very gentle with it. Meaning don't put too much colour down. I usually go slow on the reds. So these colours are not meant to go together. Oh, I can do this one. Here I go again. Wrong one. And this one here is called Dusky Rose. It is so pretty. But see how that just changes the tones of the purples as well? No line colouring always looks awful at first, just saying. Now, and I used to overwork my colour. I keep coming in, and remember when we used to colour with circles? See, I'll leave that, even though you can see all those lines and that there. The cardstock's still basically wet with a bit of ink in it. It will keep working its magic. Did you know that Ellen Hutson was one of the first people to bring like Copics into the papercraft industry? So I can blame my addiction to her. I remember once I went into a shop back in the days when we had the oh, I get these. When we actually had brick and mortar shops, I went in there and I was looking around, buying stuff I probably didn't need, but which I still do. But there was a card. There were some card examples up. You know how they have stamps and then they have card examples there, and I just looked at it. I thought that must be printed like out of a. It must be like printed out of a on a computer or something like that. And it wasn't. It was actually the image had been coloured in with Copic markers, and I just couldn't believe. And after I saw that, I just thought, I've got to get some. I've got to try them. And I did. And initially I struggled. Oh gosh, wrong end. Initially I struggled with the blends. It did take practice with it, but it was worth it for the results, because I think there's just nothing that gives that vibrancy. But we've got so many options. It's the best thing, like all these different colouring options that we have. Like, so if you're not confident with colouring, you know, how cool is it to be able to grab a set of stencils and stamps nowadays, or layering stamps, you know, like there are so many great ways to add colour. I didn't know that, Steph. I know she created a video, a DVD, they're called, but she also teaching it as well. And when she was saying about these new sketch markers and how they are comparable, because but there's all these new colours that we don't have, and they're a bit more affordable. So she's kind of like, it's so I've got to try them. And she's right, they're actually really nice to colour with. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of, because I'm going to lose the outline when you're doing no line colouring, I'm going to lose this outline. I like to actually colour that in first a little bit so that I can finish off the petal. And I'm not going right to the way to the edge with this next colour, and it's a totally different colour, but I think it looks really pretty. So yeah, you don't need all the colours, you can blend the ones that aren't meant to. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you're new to it, there's not cat fur. If you add a lighter colour like this over top of a darker area, it will lift the colour. It works almost like a colourless blender. That's not the one I meant to grab. So, what was the other? Oh, there was a really fun, I got some really fun responses from the other. You know how when I sent out the email, I said, oh, does people have any other way that they've been colouring with lately? Morning, Deb. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and read the chat. Who's buying what? And this is where it gets hard, because I'm going to come back in after and draw those stamen in with the black marker. Yeah. Yes, that's right. That was pretty sad. I didn't know Betty was a colourist. Was it her? Oh. And this is why we don't colour very often. Imagine if I coloured this whole thing. Are you going to sit here all day and colour with me? Yeah. So that's what I was saying. I had some really interesting comments in the other way of colouring when I send out the email, and I People colour with chalk. I have not coloured with chalk for years. And I still have some chalks there because I used to do like some chalk backgrounds. But yeah, but I've not actually, and I'm not sure what they mean when they say they're colouring with chalk. Can anyone help me there? Does it mean like chalk pens or like, because the ones I've got are they're in like a pan, almost like a watercolour pan. So I can't imagine that'd be, I suppose you blend with the chalk, don't you? Maybe that's what they mean. Thanks, Tim. So I'm doing the same thing here. I'm keeping the darker colour, but I'm not going right to the base with my next colour. Going to do the outline again along that, and that's the good thing about this contour ink. Similar to that Fade On. Is it Fade On? I think that's what it was called. Ink on 3, Fade Out. No. Basically, it will go missing once you add the colour over top. You're not going to see the inked edges, and it's going to look like you coloured it, drew it and coloured it yourself, because you're amazing. But yeah, so colouring with chalk wasn't even something that I thought of for other. And the main, like what other way I do it is with die cutting flowers and layering them up. I do like doing that. That was more with those crafter flowers from, see how that lifted all the ink there? Probably a bit too much. But that's going to be quite wet, that bit of cardstock. So normally I probably would go to the next petal, but you know, pushing my limits now. What was that? Always struggle colouring or partially. With the shading on the flowers, when they're open, I usually like to have a bit of a highlight at the open on the other side. Is that what you mean? And then keep it darker in the middle. And then on the front petals, I'll have a bit of shading but keep it darker at the base. Just like that'll be where you'd normally see shadow. This is pretty simple colouring today. I'm really just playing with these colours. Oh. I'm just trying to see how long I've been colouring for. That's why. I want my greens, don't I? And the great thing too is if you do decide that you don't like the look of it, no line, if you leave your stamp in your Misty tool, you can always come back and stamp it with the line, because it will stamp exactly over top. I know, Therese tip 101. So I went down a rabbit hole yesterday. I got no cards made. I'm currently creating a new email. I'm using a new email provider. So I apologise if anyone got some weird emails yesterday. Because I was struggling a little bit getting it set up. I think it's setting up now, and I'm having to set up also, actually I'll do this now while I'm here. I normally don't colour too big an area at a time, but I don't want to make this drag out too long. And like I said, obviously I'm not the best with computery stuff. And it took me a while to get it all set up. And then you look up and your whole day's gone. You don't want to get caught in technology that way. You know, one thing, there's one thing you want to change. Right, is that yellow? I'm kind of feeling, I didn't want to bring other colours into this one, I just wanted to use the sketch markers that I had. So that's why, if I had gone for the Copics here, using Copics with it like I did in the other one, it does make it easier to get your blends, and I have such a limited colour palette. It does make it good to use limited colours though, because you should look at things a little bit different. Nick. And, oh, what else? There's something else I was going to say. I think I've got most of the stuff. Don't overblend. Don't oversaturate. Allow it to dry. And come back after. So, because I don't have a lot of colours, if you don't have a lot of colours, you can always add that final layer after, and it will look darker. It will dry a bit lighter initially, but it'll just help give those definitions to the paddles. How's the sound going, guys? Sounds like I'm going to have to go and reset everything up on my computer. Hopefully. That gives you an idea. Oh, I didn't mention also Sandy Allnock has like a comparison chart too. She's amazing. Got a bit overboard on that one, didn't I? Righto. And yellow. Hi Christine, welcome. So now I need to go to my original picture, don't I? That's going to tell me where to put these. And this is Copic multi-liner. Because I can't even see the other ones now. I've drawn them. Well, that's quite a thin multi-liner, isn't it? So I've got another one there. And it's these little details that can really bring your images to life. So I'm really enjoying these. Has anyone else tried them yet? I know a few people bought, I think Aileen bought the aqua, because they've got aqua markers too, which look like fun. But I know for me, Copics and alcohol markers are my go-to, so if I'm going to build on any of my stash, that's the one I'm going to go for. But I do hope to try out some more what I was going to say, colouring techniques soon. Oh, I'll zoom up. I was going to make it into a card, but hey, you know, we can't have everything. This is me, that was me playing as well. I was just mixing it with reds and the pinks together. Yeah, Barbara, I've got the Altenew markers because I'm on their design team and stuff, and I think they're really nice to colour with. The tips on their markers are nice and sturdy too, but they don't feel the same as the Copic tips. They do take a little, they're a bit, take a little bit more getting used to, but it's like any marker, once you get used to it, once you get used to it, then, you know, you kind of learn the marker. And it's just nice to have like 400 colours to choose from. My pleasure, Michelle. See, I will make some cards. Get them out. I've got to go to work today. That's a bit of a downer. I don't know if I'm going to flip the computer back. See if you can still hear me. Looks like I'm going to have to probably spend a day getting that all set up again. Oh, I have a giveaway, don't I? And I have actually drawn the winner for the giveaway. It's a $25 gift certificate to the store of your choice. And congratulations to Cordelia. So I will email you. I think your surname begins with an A, but you'll get an email. Do check your spam. If you haven't heard from me, email me, but I will email you before I go to work today. So I think I touched on everything else. I'm really happy that my new email system did work, mostly. Hopefully I didn't spam too many people, and I really do appreciate you supporting me and responding with your choices, because it gives me an idea of what people want to see. And alcohol markers was definitely up there with one of the main ways to colour, so I will be doing some more of that. And also a lot of people still use pencils, and I think they're a great combination to use together, so I'm going to do a little bit more colouring and get back to basics here. If you want to see anything specifically from me, then please email me and let me know, and I'll add it to my to-do list. All the Christmas card stuff's coming up soon, so looking forward to that. I hope to try out some of the stuff from the summit. I absolutely had a blast at the summit, and for all you guys that were there, wasn't it so much fun? Really, really, I think there's nearly 20,000 people there registered, so that was just amazing. I had a blast. So if there's no more questions, thank you very much. I really appreciate your spending your time with me, tolerating my little hiccup at the beginning. I'm sorry about that. If you did enjoy the video today, please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, it'd be great if you could subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you again here. I plan on doing another live on Thursday the 25th of August. that's if we're around. We might be camping. We had our recent holiday cancelled thanks to the local flights and staff. I think it was staffing, so I didn't get to go away and spend time with my brother in Cairns for the weekend. It's actually the second time that trip's been cancelled. We tried to get there last year. So we might just go away for camping for a little bit, for a few days, but I'll try and be back and be with you on the morning of the 25th of August, so I might have something fun planned for you then. So till next time, thanks for everything. Happy paper crafting. Bye.